Mayor of Flavortown might sound like a dream job, but beyond the TV persona, Guy Fieri has faced legal challenges, and his family members have also dealt with serious health issues. When Guy Fieri was just 10, he survived a nearly fatal accident while riding his horse near home. The horse unexpectedly bucked him off, trampling him in the process. The fall caused a heart injury and tore a ligament from his liver, requiring emergency surgery. With his parents traveling in Europe at the time, Fieri needed a court order and a lawyer's proxy signature just to go through with the operation. Remarkably, the experience didn't scare him away from horses. As an adult, he has even owned and ridden them. When Guy Fieri was 19 and attending the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, he found himself caught up in a terrifying accident. He had been drinking alcohol and hanging out at a drag boat race with friends from a nearby campground. One friend panicked at the sight of a police officer, leading to a car chase that ended with the vehicle flipping. The crash caused multiple injuries and one fatality. Fieri was airlifted to the hospital and woke up handcuffed to his bed. It later came out that most of the friends had military connections and tried to shield their buddy from charges by claiming Fieri had been driving. In the end, he avoided prison. He now shares this story with his children as a cautionary lesson about being careful who you trust. In February 2011, Guy Fieri's younger sister, Morgan Fieri, passed away from metastatic melanoma, an aggressive form of skin cancer. Her first encounter with the disease came at age 4, when Guy was 8, and she initially recovered. Tragically, the cancer returned in adulthood, and she died at just 38. Following her passing, Guy and his wife, Lori, helped raise Morgan's son, Jules. Since then, Jules has graduated from California State University, San Marcos, and built a career in the music industry. In September 2023, on what would have been Morgan's 51st birthday, Guy paid tribute to her on Instagram, writing, "Happy 51st birthday to my little sister Morgan. Miss you, sis. Namaste."
And then my most important tattoo is in memory of my sister Morgan. This is her. It's Botticelli's Venus. That's what always reminded me of her.
Morgan wasn't the only member of Guy Fieri's family to face a life-threatening illness. Their father, Jim Fieri, battled pancreatic cancer. By 2018, at age 76, he was declared cancer-free, just 7 years after Morgan's passing. Since then, he has become an advocate for others dealing with the disease. Guy has spoken highly of both of his parents' resilience in the face of such hardships. In 2022, he told People magazine, "When you watch your mom and dad bury their kid and still get up and go live their life, and of course do it with a ton of sorrow. I mean, we can't talk about my sister without my mom crying, but they go and do it every day, and I don't know how they can do it. I don't know that I have that kind of strength as a person, so they're great examples to follow." Guy Fieri has been the face of diners, drive-ins, and dives since 2006, a show that's become hugely popular. However, it hasn't been without controversy. In 2011, producer David Page sued Food Network after they attempted to replace him. The network responded with a countersuit, claiming Page had fostered a toxic work environment by missing deadlines, submitting incomplete work, and mistreating staff. Page tried to shift the blame onto Fieri, alleging that the host canceled shoots and ignored communications to make Page look bad. Food Network eventually removed Page and continued production without him. Page later accused Fieri of being lewd, homophobic, and anti-Semitic, claiming inappropriate sexual remarks and behavior on set. These accusations didn't gain traction. Fieri's sister Morgan was openly gay, and in 2015, he officiated a mass wedding for 101 same-sex couples. A Fieri publicist told Eater, "Guy's reputation speaks for itself. He's a stand-up guy who does right by people. He would never make the kind of comments attributed to him in this story, and anyone who knows or has even met him knows that. That Mr. Page made these sadly desperate statements says more about him than it does about Guy or anyone on the Food Network team." 2011 was an especially tumultuous year for Guy Fieri. Alongside the tragedy of losing his sister and navigating a high-profile lawsuit, his $200,000 Lamborghini Gallardo was stolen. Fieri had left the car at a dealership for routine servicing, and it vanished for an entire year. Police eventually tracked it down in a storage unit belonging to a 19-year-old named Max Wade, where they also discovered a motorcycle, weapons, and ammunition.
Brave kid.
Wade was later accused of attempting a drive-by shooting using the motorcycle and weapons found in the storage unit. Guy Fieri had to testify at the trial in 2013. Wade was ultimately sentenced to life in prison for attempted murder. While this ordeal was certainly stressful for Fieri, it was arguably a lesser personal tragedy compared to the other challenges he faced that same year. The late Anthony Bourdain was widely respected in the culinary world, but he was known for poking fun at fellow chefs, including Guy Fieri. Fieri admitted that he was somewhat surprised by Bourdain's jabs. In a 2015 interview with GQ, he said, "He's never talked shit to my face. It's just, what are you doing? What is your instigation? You have nothing else to fucking worry about than if I have bleached hair or not. I mean, The tension between them reportedly started in 2008, when Anthony Bourdain likened Guy Fieri to Poochie, the Simpsons character created by a committee of TV executives.
I have to go now. My planet needs me.
The feud carried on in 2011 when Fietti's Lamborghini was stolen, and Anthony Bourdain mocked the incident on Twitter. In 2012, Fieri joined a group of chefs who staged a playful roast of Bourdain in response to his past digs. Bourdain fired back by calling Fietti's new Times Square restaurant a 500-seat deuce. By 2015, Bourdain took the rivalry on tour with his stand-up show Close to the Bone, roasting Fieri and others. He admitted that fatherhood had prompted some personal adjustments, but he still had pointed words for his longtime sparring partner. I sort of feel in a heartfelt way for Guy Fieri. I wonder about him. He's 52 years old and still rolling around in the flame outfit. In 2013, Guy Fieri was returning home from San Francisco International Airport with his hairdresser, Ariel Ramirez. Both had been drinking on the flight, so they opted for a ride service. However, the journey turned out to be far from smooth.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
TMZ released video showing Ramirez standing outside the SUV and striking Guy Fieri, who was still inside. Fieri responded by kicking back, and both exchanged loud, profane arguments. A representative for Fieri told TMZ, "A bunch of guys were messing around. Things got a little out of hand, but they're all good now." Although the altercation was certainly intense, it could have been far more serious, and it ranks as a relatively minor incident compared to the other hardships Fieri has faced in his life. When Guy Fieri attempted to open a wine tasting room near his Santa Rosa, California vineyard, local residents weren't thrilled. In 2014, over 100 neighbors attended a hearing to voice concerns about noise, potential drunk driving, and litter. The zoning board drafted a list of 76 conditions Fieri would need to meet to operate the tasting room, but ultimately rejected the proposal. Fieri chose not to appeal. While his Hunt and Ride label began producing wine in 2015, the tasting room never opened. This setback was more of a minor hurdle than a major life tragedy for Fieri. In 2015, Guy Fieri decided to close his Johnny Garlic's restaurant chain, which led to a lawsuit from his business partner, Stephen Gruber. The first location had opened back in 1996, and after 19 years, Fieri felt it was time to move on. Gruber, however, wanted to keep the chain alive and sued Fieri to continue operations. With Fieri already managing numerous other restaurants, Johnny Garlic's was no longer essential to him. In the lawsuit, Gruber attempted to purchase Fieri's share to carry on the business. Signs of trouble were already evident, as one location had closed unexpectedly the previous year. Without Fieri at the helm, the remaining restaurants declined and eventually closed permanently. While this chapter wasn't his most triumphant, it's a common reality in the restaurant industry rather than a personal tragedy. Guy Fieri's American Kitchen and Bar in Times Square gained a negative reputation after health inspections uncovered insect problems. In January 2016, inspectors found multiple types of flies throughout the restaurant. According to the report, filth flies include houseflies, little house flies, blowflies, bottle flies, and flesh flies. Food/refuse/sewage-associated flies include fruit flies, drain flies, and phorid flies. That section of the report noted 8 different types of flies living in areas where diners certainly wouldn't want them. Despite the infestations, the restaurant received a B rating on the inspection. To make matters worse, a year earlier, inspectors had also discovered roaches.
I buried those cockroaches!
The pest problems at American Kitchen and Bar foreshadowed bigger challenges. By the end of 2017, the Times Square location had closed. However, as of 2026, other U.S. locations remain open, along with 5 international spots. While Fieri likely isn't thrilled about the reports of insects in his restaurants, the situation could have been far more damaging. Guy Fieri is one of the most recognizable names in the restaurant world, with 175 delivery-only locations and 80 full-service restaurants globally. One of his newest ventures, downtown Flavortown in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, features not just food and drinks, but also an arcade and bowling lanes. Yet the excitement was short-lived. In 2022, just months after opening, downtown Flavortown faced a lawsuit for allegedly violating the Fair Labor Standards Act. Employees who earned tips claimed they were asked to perform non-tipped work, like cleaning, maintenance, and food prep, without receiving minimum wage for those tasks. The suit sought back pay for past work and changes to the company's pay policies going forward. While the lawsuit certainly put the restaurant under scrutiny, it could have been far worse. Still, breaking labor laws isn't a good look, especially when someone as high profile as Fieri is involved.